Alright guys, you know I got the funny hat on. It's time for dream making it work. Normally spending a day in the shop fixing cars. That's what we do. We eat, sleep, and we fix stuff, even around the house. My pool pump went out. Luckily, I got this Aquastrong upgraded pool pump. Variable speed, 2 horsepower. We're going to put that in this video. Now, I am no pool expert, but I have been taking care of my own pool for 26, 27 years now. I'm a master auto mechanic, and I take care of everything around the house myself. I installed the garage door opener, all the ceiling fans, redid the bathrooms, mostly myself with the help with the tile work. But I'd like to do everything myself. Try to figure out how to do it. Try to learn while I'm doing it if it's my first time. I've rebuilt my pool pump a couple times. I've put a new motor on it when it went out years ago. But it's basically served its purpose. Let's get this Aquastrong pool pump installed. What do you say? We're going to show you how to do it and how to do it safely. You got to shut the breaker off first before you get started, because it's 220 volts. They're all 110 pumps and 220 pumps. I prefer the 220. It's more efficient. The higher the voltage, the lower the amperage it draws. So amps times volts equals watts, right? The higher the voltage, the lower the amperage to get to the same wattage, if that makes sense. Quick little electrical class before we get started. These are the tools we need. Pair of pliers. I've got other pliers if I need. These should do for wire and stuff. Something to strip wire ends if I need. PVC tubing cutter. This is a handy little guy. It'll do smaller tubes and large tubes, like we're going to be dealing with 1.5 inch PVC pipe here. I've got some sections in case I need it. I know I'll need a little bit. I don't think I'll need anywhere near that much. Adjustable wrench for, I have to replace the fitting to the chlorinator while we're in there. Some universal pliers if I got to turn a big giant plastic fitting. I think I got them at Walmart for like $9-10 bucks. They weren't too crazy expensive. On a tool truck it's about 70. Speaking of tool trucks, snap-on screwdriver. Doesn't have to be snap-on, but I like this one if I need more leverage. And then I got regular screwdrivers, Phillips and flathead. I also bought this kit. Pretty inexpensive on Amazon. I'll put it in my Amazon store too. But what this is when you want to cut a fitting off of a pipe, a coupler, reuse a coupler instead of cutting it on the other side and putting a new coupler on. This is designed to drill it out so that you can reuse couplers. But I did buy another coupler in case I needed a longer length of pipe than any one of them is. Let's get this thing open and take a look, see what it looks like in there. This larger box behind us is a new fake concrete pad to put everything on. When you see my old pad, you'll know why. It's crumbling. My pool pump was installed in 1999, so it's about 26, 27 years old. That's something I would advise someone to do while they're doing this project. You're going to have everything basically off. You might as well replace that pad if yours is showing wear like mine. Instructions, we will be going over those. Filter cover, screen. It's a secondary screen to protect the pump, so it doesn't pull anything in. Separate from your regular pool filter. I'm using a cartridge. Some people use sand. Whatever suits your fancy. This does have its own control panel. Very nice. Wiring is stripped already on the ends. Alright, before carrying it out there, let's take a look, make sure we've got everything we're going to need. You might have to make a trip to the big box store if not. Comes with Teflon tape, comes with an earth, comes with some adapters, more instructions. Shows you how these are going to go together. We've got our glue. I think we should have everything we need. This basket, removable for cleaning. I'm going to take these out, we'll see how they thread on. One of the important steps is what they're calling bonded, which is grounded. My pump, I have an existing pump, so I'll be replacing it, installing my bonded ground into this post. Remove this tag, tighten this back up. Your ground is going to go in here, or earth so that you got a safe system. You always want to hook this kind of thing up. Don't disregard it. Very important. That's why the warning's on there. Caution. This document is to register instructions, things like if you're doing a new installation, which would be very unusual, I think, for someone to do this on a new pool. They'd have it with their pool. But if the wire length exceeds 100 feet, you're supposed to go to 10 gauge wire instead of 12. AWG, AUG, gauge. But normally, like what I'm doing on my pool, I already have a pump. I'm replacing an existing pump. All the wiring's been sorted already, so we shouldn't have to worry too much about that. We will be eliminating a manual timer for the more sophisticated control panel this unit comes with. I can control how fast the pump runs. See how that all works. Comes with O-rings for your fittings, 2-inch pipe adapters and 1.5 inch. We'll be using 1.5, as you can see here. This fits the rest of my pump components and filter components, so that's what we're going to install with these large plastic nuts. We'll get that loosely installed. We might not be back at the pool yet, but I wanted to make one more quick tip. I like to use a little bit of O-ring lube on my O-rings. It actually helps them seal better. You'd think maybe lubricant would be bad, but the rubber gets sticky otherwise and can bunch up and tear when you tighten your fittings. And these are only, you know, tightened by hand and they won't leak. Of course, you're gonna have to check them, but a little bit of this lube really helps so the O-ring doesn't stick and tear. All right, here we are back at the pool. I'm using the Hayward for my filter. And I think this is Pentair for my chlorinator. I'm going to replace this hose. This broke a couple years back and I've had that rigged up and it actually works okay. But I'm going to replace it with what I think is the proper stuff. The only real problem, my pool pad, you can see how nasty it is. These are not secured, they just sit on top of it. This is the earth ground that has to go where I showed you on the side of the pump. This is my circuit breaker. Before you do anything, shut that breaker off. Now everything from there down is not powered. From here up still is, so you got to be careful. This is where all the magic happens. My plan is to run my wires through the conduit that's existing into this panel and bypass this, but leave it in place. You don't know what the future holds. No reason to take it all down. The biggest problem I'm going to have is this is 6 3/4 from the ground, and let's pretend the pad's all intact. This is about 10 1/4. So we're about 4 inches off, give or take. So what we're going to have to do is cut these pipes here, here, and here. Cut that. We're going to have to lower it all down to meet where this pump wants to be, which is right around here somewheres. And then we should be in good shape. And the only way to do it is to get started. This is all going to stay intact. We're not going to mess with any of that for now. Let's get to it, I say. This motor is a, I think that was a 2 horsepower motor. This is the modern version of a 2 horsepower motor. Looks a little bit smaller, but we'll see. Okay, my breaker's off. My protective cover's off so I can get to the wires. I think what I have to do on this is connect this pump right to here where this one was connected to, because I don't know if my wiring harness is long enough. It doesn't look like it's going to be long enough to go through into this panel. So I can put it right to here and we'll be good to go. I can even put it to the same eyelets that come out here going out to the pump and eliminate this timer. That control panel is going to want to always have power so it knows when to turn on and off. If this turns power to that panel on and off, then the panel resets every time. I've got my earth disconnected, 2 phases. I got the wires off here so I can pull this out. The big thing is getting the old pump out of the way. Making notes where everything goes in the first place. I don't like these butt connectors on here, but I guess that's how they want it. It's interesting. Looks like automotive butt connectors. Let me finish getting this pump out of here. We're gonna have to cut these pipes. Use a shovel to dig this old pad out from under my filter without having to cut that pipe. If I can avoid it. If I can't avoid it, then I'll cut it and I'll have to slide this a little closer. Hoping there's enough room here for my chlorinator fitting. Gravity check. That's where we're at. Taking stuff apart, dismantling. That's the easy part, but I always try to even plan that out. I want to make sure I'm not going to make more work for myself if I can avoid it. Alright, we got the wire pulled out, the pipes cut. I used a hacksaw because this gray stuff's way stiffer than the white PVC, a little bit thicker, so it cracked. So I used the hacksaw to straighten it. So we'll have to set the height of these pipes to match that. It's almost exactly the height of the pipe, about 2 inches too high. So you can do all the measuring you like, but I find when you set it next to what you're working with, you know exactly what you got to do. I think I'm going to use the hacksaw to cut these off here too, and that makes it a little easier. I started drilling these fittings out. Get all my debris out of here. I wanted to try it out on this one that I can unscrew if I needed to, before I try it out on the ones I can't. I'll do that now, just because it's easier to get to it. It's a process. I drilled all these out to reuse them, so I got to make sure I get a decent amount of bite in there. I want about 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch or so. I don't want the red line near the top. That means I haven't drilled enough material out. Now when you put the glue on there, it also helps everything kind of slips together better, but you only have a minute or two to work before it starts to want to harden. Depends on temperature outside. Now the correct way to make all these pipes is to test fit everything before you glue anything, and make sure that everything's going to be happy. You'll save a lot of pipe that way. About 7 inches worth of pipe, and we'll adjust from there. Take just a little more off this and we're ready to glue it together, and we can run this pump. Primer makes a mess. It's very watery, but I like using it. It seems to really help with sealing everything up and making the glue do its job. That's what I'm using, Christie's primer and red hot blue glue. This is going to bother me, but we'll be all right. I'm going to let this set up a little bit. Let's hook up this wiring. All right, the green goes in here. The red from the house is on phase 1 and phase 2. As it says here, phase 1, phase 2, and ground, black, white, green. The order of 1 and 2 does not matter because it's 220, so it's two 110 legs. It'll be good. I'm going to take these white wires out of here. This box is still off. You don't turn that back on until you're completely done. I'm going to take this white wire out of here to make some more room. It will also eliminate confusion in the future. Clean this up. Now all I'm doing is using this as a bus bar. Nice and tight, give them a tug, make sure they both got caught really well. It's really important that these are correctly tightened because a loose connection generates heat. Heat leads to big problems, so you don't want that. Give it a tight, give it a tight again. Can't be too sure. Same thing on this side. Normally you pull this in and out and leave that eyelet there because you're attaching this to it, but like I said, we're just using it as a bus bar. These white wires help run the timer, and what it was doing, when this closes the contact, it sends power out here to turn the motor on. So it goes completely out of here. Since I disconnect these white wires, it's not going to sit there using electricity for no reason, and these won't get lost if I screw them back on here. The technology advances so quick that these systems get more and more efficient, and these old school setups are no longer desirable. There's a good word for it, I guess. But you never know. So I'm gonna leave it all intact. This is just a guard, because people go in here and touching stuff, so they have this over there so you don't touch a ground and a phase at the same time. That would end badly. I'm gonna move my tent. I got a tent over us for shade. Not completely set up, but I'm gonna move it so I can close this door after I turn it on. We'll check this pump out and get it running. They do have to prime it as well. So I'll get some water. We'll put some water in the filter housing to prime the pump and the pipes and everything. First thing I'll do is run it momentarily, check everything for leaks. Once I get the system to prime up, we'll show you how the panel works. So I'll pull my tent. Let's go ahead and put some water in here. No sense doing it in the sunshine. We'll do it in the shade. We'll go in the pool in the sunshine. We'll work on the pool in the shade. We're gonna flip that breaker and run it. There we go. Now we've got our panel lit up. Everything's looking good. What we gotta do now is program it. Time. Right now it is 2. Let's say that would be 1400 hours. Menu, escape, speeds. Speed 1, 1200 RPM sounds good to me. Escape. Speed 2, escape. Speed 3, escape. Speed 4, pre-selected, I like that. I think it's 4 speeds. Schedules. Schedule 1. Time on. 8:30. I like 10:30. Escape. Time off. It's 12, 2:30, 4:30. Escape. Speed 2. Escape. Escape. Schedule 2. Okay, you can just do 1. Okay, I like that. Let's go back. Function enabled. There you go. Enter. So you highlight it first, and then you can change it. Looks like I have a leak. That's a shame. This is leaking, but I didn't mess with it. Oh, there it is. It's because it opened a little bit. That's better. I've got a couple leaks to fix. That's on me. That's a shame. But it can be easily fixed, so. But the pump works great. I'm gonna get some more fittings, finish up my leaks. We'll fire this thing up some more. I can definitely say that I'm impressed with how rapidly it primed itself, and it's much quieter than the pump I took out. So that's the good news. Alright guys, shut off when it's supposed to shut off, turned on when it's supposed to turn on. Working great. Turns on, picks up the RPM a little bit till it primes itself, brings the RPM down to what you preset it at. Working great. Really happy with it. I will put a link in the description if you're interested in one of these. I want to also go over the menu with you guys. For those wondering, what I did is I'm using schedule 1 and running at 2000 RPM for 6 hours. Every day it'll use the same schedule. I'll have the rest of them off. But what you can do is enable all the functions, which is the default. It will run from 8:30 to 11:30 at whatever speed you want for that schedule. Then you can run at a different speed from 2:30 to 5:30, and then another speed from 6:30. That's 5 hours. It's going to run quite a bit if you do it this way, but you have that capability. You could run it for 1 hour at one speed, 1 hour at another speed, 2 hours and 2 hours. You know, break it up however you want. I haven't figured out that system with what the optimum is. I'm going to try 2,000 RPM, monitor my pool's chlorine levels, see how that goes. The lower the speed of the motor, the less electricity it's going to use, right? So you don't want it so low of a speed that the motor is kind of struggling. I would assume there's a sweet spot for the motor where it's going to draw the least amount of current and give you the best results. And that's what I'll experiment with in the coming days, trying different defaults. I'm going to try only schedule one with the others disabled for now at 2,000 RPM, see how it goes. We'll adjust from there. If I don't think it's keeping my chlorine levels the same as it did with the other pump, then of course I'll increase the speed a little bit. Maybe I'll do 2,000 RPM for 3 hours at this speed and 3,000 RPM on the second schedule, and you can set the time for each schedule. Pretty cool that you can do all that, and then every day it'll run at the same time and stop at the same time based on the settings you have on the 4 schedules. So pretty cool little pump. I'm really looking forward to messing with it some more and seeing how we get it to work. Comes with a troubleshooter too. If you do have any problems, there's a troubleshooter causes and solutions. Most of it is pretty basic. I mean, filter clogged, clean filter. I think we all pretty much would know that. We'll run this pump for a while. We'll see how it goes on a long-term review, and we'll touch bases back here about 6 months from now. See how it's going. I just fixed a leak I had in the one elbow, but I've been running the pump for a week. It's been fantastic. You can hear how quiet it is. That's the priming, 2,900 RPM prime, and as it gets pressure, it'll bring the engine RPM down, the motor RPM down to 2,000 where I have it set at. I've been running at 2,000 RPM. I need to vacuum the pool, so I don't mind that, but 2,000 RPM seems good. The pool stays crystal clear. Chlorine levels are good. I do have to vacuum it today though. But guys, I can tell you this Aquastrong pump is just about ready to come down. I'm building pressure in my filter, about 7-8 psi just about. I'm gonna let it come down to 2,000 RPM. We'll see how it sounds. I do still have the film on the panel. I'll leave that protective film in there as long as I can. That's 2,000 RPM, and I'm whispering. Very, very low monotone voice. What I'm saying is the pump's super quiet. Really like it. Big improvement from the pump I had on there, which was put in 1999. If you're in the market for a pool pump, highly recommend checking these out. They have several different models available. They have single speed. They have 110, 220, with and without the digital display. If you saw earlier in the video, I bypassed my manual control panel. It doesn't run. I have it disconnected underneath. Always remember to disconnect your breaker before you do any kind of work. Use a voltmeter if you're not sure. That's good up to 110, 240 volts or more. And make sure that the system is not live. Obviously, when you turn the breaker off, it shouldn't be, but you can't be too careful with that much voltage. It's very dangerous. If you don't know what you're doing, you can buy the system and have a pool guy or a plumber guy install it for you. Very straightforward. Anyone can handle this installation if they have a little bit of experience. Me being a mechanic, I like to do everything myself that I can. So let's stand about 10 feet away. I'm not sure if you can hear that. You could probably hear the plane going over the house a little better than the pump. Super impressive. Check it out. Link in the description, guys.